Welcome back, everybody, to the Insightful Podcast. We gain insight in order to move forward in life. Today, I will be speaking about why you're stuck and the 3 steps, or actually 5, that you could use to break free from that feeling. So, you know how I like to do this, guys. I always got 5 points. So, let's get straight into it. So, the first point is the comfort zone trap. Most people stay stuck because you mistake comfort for security. Growth requires discomfort, and avoiding it keeps you stagnant. Anytime you pursue something new and it feels extremely uncomfortable, the best mindset you could have is feeling grateful for that feeling. Because when you're uncomfortable in a new pursuit, that means that you are doing something that your previous self wouldn't have done, right? So if you're able to kind of stay in that feeling and be like, wow, I'm proud of myself for actually sticking through to this, that is where it's super important. And you'll see that you'll be able to kind of start breaking away from that feeling of stuckness because you're actually able to see that you are seeking growth. So I think that's super important. Is just realizing that this is comfort. I feel too comfortable. I need to go put myself in an uncomfortable situation. And only then will you actually start to see growth in your self improvement journey. The second point is the mental loops that hold you back. Negative self talk, overthinking, and the fear of failure create a cycle that stops you from taking action. Recognizing these patterns is the first step to breaking free. The first one, let's go over the first one, negative self talk. This will keep you stuck because one, you'll think you're bad at everything, or you'll think you're bad at what you're currently doing, or you'll tell yourself you're not good enough to try something new. And once you do this, not only are you maybe living a life right now that currently sucks because of how you view yourself, you'll also feel that way towards the something new that you want to try, right? So negative self-talk is one of those things that I wish I could have been taught sooner about how bad it is for your not only your mental health but also for your growth as an individual, because if I knew that, I would have been working on that from a way younger age. The next thing is overthinking. You overthink every single thing. You overthink conversations. You overthink something new you're going to try. You overthink if what you're currently doing, if you're good at it, right? Whatever it might be, you overthink everything. And when you're constantly overthinking everything, it goes back to what I was speaking about in the previous podcast. You want to waste the most brain points in your day? I think overthinking is the best way to do it. If you want to speed run losing it, I think it's overthinking because you spend so much time in your head that you're not living in the present moment and you're not also experiencing what is currently happening in your life because you're constantly up here. So you need to crush this mental loop. You need to stop it from consistently happening. And only then will you actually start to feel like maybe I'm not stuck anymore. Maybe this overthinking thing, I realized that I had it, but I didn't put any effort into stopping it. And only now I realize that I'm actually able to see growth because I'm not overthinking every single little thing, right? And for the final one, I spoke about it a lot, so I won't go too in depth with it, but it's the fear of failure, right? If you constantly think that you're going to fail at something new, there's no point of even starting, right? And you won't start because you'll think to yourself, oh, I could do it for a month, but then I'll fail. What's the point? If you think like that, there's no point, right? You need to realize that failure is a good thing. With failure comes wisdom, and with wisdom, you could apply it to new things and apply it to who you are right now. So I think, sometimes failing faster could be a great thing, right? The next thing is lack of clear direction. If you don't have a goal, you'll drift aimlessly. Define what you truly want and reverse engineer the steps to get there, right? If you say you want to be successful, that is a good goal. But what does success mean to you? How are you going to become successful? What are the actions you're going to take on a daily basis in order to be a successful person in your metric, right? If that's the way you got to break it down, because being successful, or I want to do this or I want to do that, if there's no clarity on the goal and how it's going to be achieved, you are going to feel stuck because you're going to feel like, I feel like I'm making no progress, right? So I think that's super important, is If you have a lack of clear direction, you'll feel stuck no matter what you're pursuing. It doesn't matter what venture it is. You need to be clear. Let's take a quick break to speak about the sponsor for the podcast. I am now working with a company called Attilius Apparel, and if you want Christian fitness wear that looks like this, or this, click the link in the description. Now let's get back into the podcast on exactly what you want and who you want to be, right? Another thing is shifting your identity. See yourself as someone who takes action, right? Then start creating small wins. Progress, no matter how small, builds momentum. And then the next thing, eliminate distractions. Cut out the habits, people, and excuses that keep you stuck, right? Small wins are got to be one of the most important things to start building a stronger mindset. When I started the podcast, the previous podcast, we got one guest after 2 months of doing it. And when we got that guest, we saw that, okay, this is possible. We could get guests on our podcast no matter how small it is. And then we were able to get more and more. And now it's become a thing where if I message 10 people on Instagram, I might get 2 to 3 responses. And that's 2 to 3 potential podcasts, right? So I think that if you just look at the small wins and see, okay, I'm able to do this once, I could do it again. It just starts to compound. And now I'm able to have guests on my podcast, right? Not everyone's responding, of course, but it is progress, right? So if you're able to create those small wins, imagine the feeling of being stuck. You feel completely stuck in what you are doing, but then you get one small win. Then that kind of frees you from that trapped feeling because you see light at the end of the tunnel. And once you see that light at the end of the tunnel, that's when you could start, how you got that small win, you're going to start to grind to get more wins like that because you know it's possible, right? And for the last point, which is the most important, is action beats overthinking every single time. Clarity comes from action, not thought. The more you do, the faster you'll break out of your rut and into a life of progress. How many people say they want the best way to do this thing, or how am I going to do it? I just can't do it right now. Whatever excuse they come up with in their mind, the best thing you could do is just take action, right? No matter what it is, take action without having no knowledge, because that is one of the worst things I dealt with growing up. Every single thing I would do, or every single new thing I would try to do, I would always overthink the whole entire process. There were so many business ventures that didn't work out just because, I would think about the profit margins and be like, oh, that's not high enough. And then I wouldn't want to do it. But it's like, it's stupid, right? It's really stupid to think in that way because you haven't even experienced it firsthand. So how are you going to say that it's a bad idea before you even get started? And that's why anytime you catch yourself overthinking in that sort of way, just take action immediately. Just go and do it, right? Because that's what is important. With action, there is no room for overthinking to exist. So I hope this answered your question on why you're stuck, and I hope these 5 points can allow you to get out of that feeling, because that is one of the worst feelings, in my opinion. One of the worst things is the person that has the ambition, that has the determination to do great things, but they just don't know how, right? And the best way to eliminate that, my friend, is just take action in anything, right? And I think this podcast is super important, and I hope it helped one of you listeners listening to it right now. If you guys enjoyed the podcast, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and let me know any future topics you guys would like me to discuss in the future. Take care, everybody, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode.
Rush a cold to a diamond, eyes forever shining. Your beauty alone inspire a nigga to rhyming.